The Fiat 500 is back, and this time it's all electric all the time. Now, unfortunately, the schedule is very tight today, so let's hit the road in this 2024 Fiat 500e. When redesigning a legendary vehicle, you have to be careful because buyers have certain expectations, and fortunately, Fiat did not screw things up because the new 500e looks like a 500. This is a fashion-first EV, and the bodywork is very chic and sophisticated. Outside, of course, we have E-latch-style door handles to help improve the vehicle's aerodynamics, and then the 500e does roll on 17-inch diamond-cut wheels. And if there's any doubt that this is an Italian vehicle, it's actually assembled in Turin, Italy. It even says so right here on the door pulls if you doubt what I'm telling you. You shouldn't, but you can read it yourself right down here. In profile, of course, the 500e still looks like a little Hershey's Kiss, even if the exterior dimensions are a little bit greater than before. The wheelbase is about 91.4 inches from hub to hub, and the vehicle's overall length is 143 inches. So this electric hatchback seats 4 people. The front chairs are very comfortable. Of course, there's a little bit less room in the back for adult passengers, but what can you expect for a city-sized vehicle? Immediately in front of me, we have a retro-inspired 2-spoke steering wheel, just like you got on the original 500, and it does feel very good in my hands. Additionally, there's a 7-inch digital instrument cluster, and then over on the center of the dashboard, we have a 10.25-inch touchscreen that's home to an Android-based Uconnect 5 infotainment system that is reasonably intuitive and quite responsive. And this is actually the same display that you get in the Alfa Romeo Tonale SUV, if you were curious. In the rear, we've got 7.5 cubic feet of luggage space behind the rear seat back. I did ask what that number grows to when you fold the backrests down, but nobody seemed to know what the actual figure was at this time, so maybe we'll have to circle back to that in a little bit. But overall, I've got to say the interior quality is quite nice. Of course, this car is built to a price point, and you do get a lot of hard plastic on the door panels and the dashboard. But nothing is egregiously cheap. Everything feels solidly built. The design is beautiful as well. I love some of the functionality with the push-button shifter down here on the dashboard, as well as the physical climate controls, which are always very nice to have. So this is a small urban runabout that's built on the Stella City vehicle architecture, and as I mentioned, you can't expect huge amounts of interior space or performance. The 500e has a single permanent magnet electric motor that gets you 117 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque, enough to propel this thing from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 8.5 seconds, which is a good, if not stellar, performance. Though I will tell you, the 0 to 30 acceleration is really quite good, so it does help this vehicle feel a bit quicker than those numbers might suggest. So out and about or stopped in traffic like we are right now, there are 3 different driving modes. Normal is the most normalist. It's perfect for everyday use. Range is what I've got it in right now. Range activates the 1-pedal drive mode, so the 500e will roll itself smoothly to a stop, which of course we're doing right now because we're sitting in traffic. And then finally, there's Sherpa mode. Not a very Italian name, maybe they should have had barista or something like that, but Sherpa mode maximizes vehicle range by limiting the top speed to about 50 miles per hour. It also reduces the motor output to just 76 horsepower, and that's all so you don't get stranded. If you need to go a little farther on the charge, you can engage Sherpa mode and hopefully you won't be walking. And that's helpful because there's not much range. The 500e has a 42 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack. That's 42 kilowatt-hours of gross capacity, which provides an EPA estimated range of just 149 miles, which is the same as a base Nissan Leaf, though Fiat reps do say that if you're driving this car just in urban settings, it'll do closer to 162 miles on a charge, which is better, but still not all that great. But at least the 500e DC fast charges rapidly, right? Well, cue that gif of Danny DeVito shaking his head. Yeah, this car tops out at just 85 kilowatts, which is really not all that impressive. I mean, these days 200 kilowatts is practically the standard, the norm, and this car is doing less than half of that. But there is some good news because the battery pack is relatively small, so it does charge surprisingly quickly. Fiat lists a 0 to 80 time, which is a little bit unusual, of about 35 minutes, which again is not terrible. And of course, if they were listing a 10 to 80% time, it would be considerably better than that. So even though the 85 kilowatt figure is not impressive, this car is still perfectly livable when it comes to DC fast charging. The 500e does charge via a CCS connector, so be aware of that. I asked them whether they'd be offering a NACS adapter. They said no, but of course the North American Charging Standard, SAEJ, 3400, is on the automaker's radar, and they will be rolling that out to future vehicles, but there's nothing to announce regarding that with the 500e right now, so of course stay tuned for more. So how well does the new 500e ride and drive? Well, I gotta tell you, this small car feels very refined. Now, I haven't had it up at 75 miles an hour yet, but around town, the ride quality is surprisingly good. It's a little bit on the firm side, but it's super refined. You don't get that grittiness coming up from the roadway. Additionally, there's almost no pogoing over bumps like you would expect in a vehicle with a super short wheelbase. And of course, the weight of this car helps it feel planted. This thing weighs about 3,000 pounds. EVs are never light, and this is no exception. Plus, we've got 3 people on board, so it's even heavier than that. But overall, very impressive refinement on the road in the 500e here. Providing that nice ride quality, we've got McPherson struts up front, pretty standard stuff. And then at the back, there's a twist beam. Pretty old-fashioned, but, surprisingly effective. As for advanced driver aids, the 500e comes standard with a few goodies. You've got lane keeping assist, there's pedestrian alert, automatic emergency braking, traffic sign recognition, and of course blind spot monitoring. Now, depending on the model, you can also get a 360-degree camera system in this car, which is always helpful for parking in those dense urban areas. Okay, so what does the new 2024 Fiat 500e cost, and when can you buy one? Well, this fashionable all-electric runabout starts at roughly $34,000, including $1,595 in destination fees, which makes the 500e one of the most affordable electric vehicles available in the US today. And Fiat reps even tell us that this car will not be a loss leader, meaning they expect to actually make money selling them. And of course, yes, you heard me correctly just a moment ago, this car should be available at dealerships very soon, if it isn't already. Now, the 2024 Fiat 500e does have a couple downsides, most notably that rather limited range. But I'll tell you, there is a lot to like about this car. It's stylish, surprisingly upscale, it rides well, and the interior is reasonably comfortable as well. So if you live in a densely packed urban area and you don't drive too far, and you want to go electric, absolutely put the new 500e on your shopping list. Next up, the Lucid Gravity is an all-electric 3-row SUV that is loaded with clever features. Click right over here for a detailed tour of this SUV.